Hi everybody, Matt Bernier, joined by DRF's national handicapper Mike Watchmaker, taking a look at this weekend's Weekend Warrior for Saturday, January the 20th. Let's start off in Maryland at Laurel Park, race number 7, the $100,000 fire plug. 6 furlongs on the main track. You've got a nice full field signed on in here, Mike. A number of horses coming out of a common race in the Gravesend. You're going to go against the grain a little bit and go with a bit of a price here, the Class and Awesome Banner.
Well, Awesome Banner might be one of the classes in this race. I mean, first of all, there are a whole bunch of admirable old hard hitters in this field. It's really kind of a fun race. But there are two aspects to why I'm picking Awesome Banner in here. Number one, I have some knocks against some of the horses that look logical on paper. And number two, I think he's going to be a bit of a price because his form, not through his own fault, is kind of darkened. I mean, he's got form that looks pretty spotty, but I can make excuses for a lot of his recent poor efforts. Like his last 2 starts, he finished up the track in the Fabulous Strike and the Bull Ruler, but in the Fabulous Strike, he acted up before the start and that was impacted by a stricken horse during the running of that race. And then he was cooked in a speed duel in the Bull Ruler 2-back. 4-back, he was on a dead rail, went fourth in a field of 4 with the Francis Dash. And 5-back, he was a distant second in the Grade 1 Vanderbilt up at Saratoga, but he was racing against a track that was speed biased that day. And so if you kind of like filter out those running lines, he looks as good, if not better, than anyone else in this race. 3 starts back, he was beating the nose of the Phoenix at Keeneland. That race is good enough to win this one. He was an excellent second in the Smile Sprint over the summer to Imperial Hint, and Imperial Hint was absolutely one of probably the top 2 or 3 sprinters in the country last year, and finished second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And he was also a very, very good third, beat only a half length of the Maryland Sprint on the Preakness undercard by Whitmore, who he's the horse that beat him a nose in the Phoenix, a prolific Sprint Stakes winner, and AP Indian was second in that race. He's a Grade 1 Stakes winner. I mean, any of those efforts are good enough to win it. And I also really like his outside draw here because I don't watch Laurel every single day, but every day that I do see Laurel, the rail is just profoundly dead there. And, the wider the better. And he's widest of all in the draw, but he's going to set a nice outside trip being forwardly placed. And I think he's good enough to get the job done with any kind of racing line.
3 runners exiting the Gravesend show back up here in this spot, including the winner, Dushare for Linda Rice. Overall thoughts on the Gravesend? Do you like any of those runners?
Well, Dushare in Life in Shambles ran well, finishing first and second in the Gravesend. Dushare's been a terrific claim for Linda Rice. He's won 6 of 9 starts with 2 seconds and third. But the Gravesend was a race that kind of collapsed late. The pace really fell apart, and Dushare did capitalize that. And he also capitalized on the fact that Life in Shambles, once he took the lead mid-stretch, really seemed to pull himself up. And why do I say that? I say that because I bet Life in Shambles. Dushare nailed him. But it really did look like Life in Shambles just put the brakes on once he struck the front. And that's a big reason why Dushare got there in time. They're perfectly logical here. I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them won this race or hit the board. It's just that they're going to be bet. And they come out of a race that really set up beautifully for them. And I just don't know that that's going to happen this time around.
Favorite Tail breaks from the rail. Most recently, he was a winner of the Dave's Friend at Laurel. That was his first victory since the end of 2015. Is this a scenario where he's getting back to his best form, or are you going to fade him?
Well, he might be getting back to his best form, but unfortunately, he drew the inside. And you have to see how the track is going to play at Laurel on a day-to-day basis. But most of the time, the rail's no good, and he drew inside, and he's got 11 horses breaking to his outside, and unless he breaks 3 lengths in front of everybody else, and then the rider immediately angles him out to the 5-path, he's at risk of being buried on the worst part of the racetrack. And I do think he's coming back to his best form, and if this race were run in 2015, I mean, he could run backwards and beat this field. He was an excellent third in the 2015 Breeders' Cup Sprint, but he's had, it's been a long go. He might not be quite as good as that, but I do think he's back to his best form. And, I think he's the kind of horse that, you don't wish any ill will on him, but he's the kind of horse that you want to bet in his start after this start because, I really think his position in this race is going to compromise him.
Is there anyone else in this field you're interested in, or is it strictly Awesome Banner?
Well, I like Awesome Banner, and I do think that Dushare and Life in Shambles can can get involved underneath here. And another horse that might get involved underneath here is Rockin' On By. I mean, he doesn't seem to want to win anymore, but he's the kind of horse he's drawn outside. He's in post 10, post 9, excuse me. And he's going to make that kind of wide sweep that always works so well at Laurel. And I think maybe he might get a small piece of this race at a big price.
Race 7 at Laurel Park, Saturday afternoon, the $100,000 fire plug. Mike's going to go to the outside with the number 12, Awesome Banner, 20-1 on the morning line. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the second of 3 for this Saturday's Weekend Warrior. We go to Gulfstream Sunshine Millions, the Sunshine Millions turf.